everybody, and welcome back to Season 2 of Creeps and Crimes
Podcast.
I'm Taylor.
And I'm Morgan. And this is our Season 2 opener. How freaking cool and how freaking exciting.
And it's our first YouTube video. So hello everybody that's listening on YouTube. If you haven't already, pop over to our YouTube channel. It's Creeps and Crimes.
Is that a Creeps and Crimes?
Hello! It's Creeps and Crimes Podcast. And then also forgive me for my nasally, horrible voice today. We had no choice but to film this right now.
Yeah.
So we are just going full force, even with all of my allergies being insane today.
So it is what it is.
So let's get creepy.
So if you want to listen to mute with subtitles,
that's probably the best thing.
Honestly, let's get creepy.
Yeah, then let's get creepy. So Morgan, you lead us. You have everything that we need to know today.
So first things first, how did you guys feel about our song? Okay, how cool.
Tell us how you felt.
It's like this. Wait, that's not it.
We've only listened to it like 3 times.
Okay, we have listened to it way more by
Yeah, you're right.
But anyway, it's a catchy tune, and it's going to be stuck in your heads, and you're going to freaking love it.
It's our new song, and that's only part 1 of our new song.
Yeah.
You're not even ready for the next part.
You'll hear it one more time.
When we're done talking.
Times,
yeah.
If we have a TFU.
So, Morgan, what did we do this week? You should tell me.
Okay, yeah. Let me tell you guys what's up. We did a photo shoot, and while it's no surprise, we're not sure if we're going to get it back by the time you guys are watching this, because our photographer, who is one of our sorority sisters, Lexi, she is supposed to be on maternity leave.
Literally right now.
And she had a baby like less than 2 months ago. So it might take a little while to get our pictures back, but we want to shout out Lexi first before we tell the story.
Bess Pics, she's amazing. And in episode, like our regular episode, so like 54, I think is the next one, you will be able to like hear about her, how much we love her, and her Instagram and everything, so you can go follow her, especially our Knoxville people. Use this girl, okay?
Yes. If you have senior pics coming up, or you want to get a couple shoots.
Literally anything. She's down for it all.
Just to hype up your Instagram a little bit.
Literally, yeah.
Anyway, so I'm like having this camera on me right now. I get anxious, okay? I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to look at you? Am I supposed to smile the whole time, or am I supposed to blank face it? Or am I supposed to look at Taylor and the whole time?
We're doing it all.
Like, I'm not really sure. So anyway, I get really big anxiety, and especially before this photo shoot, I'm texting Taylor. I'm having a mental breakdown. I'm like, just cancel it. I'm off the podcast. Find another host. I'm not doing the photo shoot. I'm not coming to your house.
I literally texted her and said, get it the F together, okay?
You turn.
You turn. Pull it together.
I pull up, and then she's like, all right. What are you drinking? You need a drink. So we immediately start pounding Tito's vodka.
Pounding.
And by the time Lexi gets here, I already noticed, like, with my own head, I'm like, oh shit, I'm drunk.
Our ears are red. We're not okay.
My cheeks are red.
We did eat all day.
Yeah.
Okay? And this is at 5:30, okay? Like 5:45 almost.
Yeah, and I literally, like, I kid you not, I got off work at 5:15. So, like, I got that drunk that quick.
Boom.
So,
like that.
We had a great photo shoot. It really eased up the nerves. And we did some in here, did some outside, and I had this inspiration that I really, like this pic from Pinterest, and I really wanted to do it. And I actually saw it on TikTok too. And it was these 2 girls, it was like best friend photo shoot ideas. It was these 2 girls, they had like their hair in towels, they were laying in their bed, they had a wine glass in their hand, and they had like little, like cute little sunglasses on, and they're like just like, you know, James Bonding it up a little bit. So I was like, Taylor, I really want to do this. So Taylor's like, that's dope. Let me go to Target. She goes to Target. She gets all there's these mirrors for her bedroom. Yes. She's like, puts her bedroom finally together.
It's not been together in the entire year that we've lived
and
here.
It looks great, right? So we're so excited. The bed's perfectly made. And at this point, Lexi had left, and we're like, Nikki, get in the bedroom with us.
Come on.
And
we stripped down, all right?
We stripped down. We're naked under these covers, trying to reenact this picture.
Martinis in hand.
Oh, martinis. And when I say martinis, I'm talking strictly vodka.
Strictly.
With a little splash of lemon juice.
Literally. We didn't even have olives. Like, that's how, like, bare we were.
Yeah. And
it was like the cleanest martini.
And, finish my story.
So basically, we're getting these pictures, and we're like, okay, show us. You know, we're like feeling cute. So Nikki is like holding back heavy laughs, and we're like, what? And she's like, y'all just look ridiculous. And then she turns the camera around, It's literally such drunk eyes.
It's like she zooms in on this one particular picture. I'm like turned in like this. My eyes are rolled to the back of my head. And in the live photo, I'm saying, this tastes like asshole.
Yes.
Taylor's like this. I'm like, oh.
Then we did one like this. Look at the YouTube
And
video.
it ended up being like, we're like thinking of ourselves, we're like, this is like really like
not a good look.
This is not a good look.
Like, not a good look.
Like people are gonna think that we're together, that we're dating, for sure.
Even our men were like,
what are you guys doing in the bed together, naked?
We're just taking pictures. It's creative, like artistic shit. Okay,
so
you wouldn't get it.
We got like one like okay picture, and we were really like back and forth, like should we post it or what? And then we did decide.
We posted it,
but we made it really small in the back of a graphic, and it did look cute. But it also looks like we had just made love.
Made sweet creeps and crimey love. Okay.
Creeps and crimes got it together and they made some love.
Let's get it on.
But not really. We were literally just drunk friends taking pictures.
Just drunk friends taking pictures.
In the bedroom. Okay.
Point
There's
blank
nothing
period.
more beyond.
Yeah, nothing more. But it was hilarious.
It was funny.
It was great.
It was really funny. I was cracking up when Taylor sent them to me.
We were laughing because I forgot about them. We were so drunk in the pictures that I had literally forgotten about them. I wake up the next morning and I'm texting Morgan about everything, and she's like, hey, how did those pictures in the bed turn out?
Like so confident.
And I was like,
they were good.
Here, let me send you a few. Dead. And then we did a TikTok, not just one, but 2 TikToks.
The first TikTok is Linda and Heather, best friends. If you didn't see it, you probably won't. It's probably deleted. But it's still up right now, which we need to talk about.
Yeah, that's a long conversation.
And then the second one we did, Doja Cat, it's been a long time since you fell in love. And, wow, it was really, like, bad.
My voice is like...
And the 2 TikToks back to back together just, like, really, really emphasized that, like, something was going on.
Something was going on.
It was so funny. It was just a poor choice of TikTok.
And then we're taking the pictures, and I'm like, do you want me to kiss her face? And she's like, no, you're good. I'm like, are you sure? I was like, I feel like I need to kiss her face right now.
Go ahead and lay down on the bed here. And I'm like,
she's like laying.
I'm like laying upside down with my feet up. I'm like, isn't this what girls do? Like, it looks cute when other girls do it, but when I do it, like, it doesn't look cute.
We looked like we were being like vacuum sucked into the couch. Like, there was nothing cute about it. It was not a good look.
It was so funny, but it was so fun.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll be up by now. They should be.
It had a good energy.
It did.
Season 2.
A lot of fun, a lot of bullshit, a lot of what we're about, you know.
Yeah. And then would you like to tell them about future
Okay,
things?
yeah. So, obviously, we've been dropping hints crazy about music and video and stuff that we're talking about. And I haven't even told you this yet, but one of our people texted us and they were like, are y'all adding a 3rd host? And I'm like, no, no one wants to be around us, okay? Yes. It's just us.
We have creeps, crimes, and now we need a
glass of wine.
And.
Yeah.
Who's our and?
Who is it?
We're scouting. Right
so, yeah, we've had that conversation.
That's funny.
That's been a funny thing.
That's not what's happening.
And then another one was like, God, I can't remember it. It was basically like, are we doing live shows? I'm like, we wanted to really bad, but like, with everything going on with COVID, there's so many things that you have to do. And we have a bigger thing that we're working on that still even a week before this episode drops, we're still not even got confirmed yet. So there's a lot more that's probably going to come that we would have hoped would have been happening before the drop of season 2. But it looks like it's going to lead a little bit more into season 2. But I promise you, this whole hype up wasn't for nothing. Like, we have worked our asses off. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Like, the cases that we're covering, we've asked you guys to tell us what you want to hear. We've gotten great submissions, and we're so excited. But send in your creepy accounts, okay? All right.
We're talking to you.
We're talking to you.
Can you hear us?
I know you can hear us, because you're listening to us.
Speaking of you, on the other side of the camera, we're going to tell you guys that getting to where we are with this particular camcorder has been an adventure.
It's been an entire thing.
Okay, we had this camera at first.
Yes.
Some Nikon or something.
No, it was a Sony.
Sony. And it was... And we practiced like recording a couple episodes. That's what we dropped our video hints to you guys on, was through that camera. And every like 30 seconds it would be like, warning, overheating, shut the camera off, shut the camera off.
Blow up?
Like, people at Best Buy are like, oh yeah, this camera right here, that's gonna be the best thing that you could ever use for your podcast.
Right. They're like, it's perfect for YouTube, everything. I'm like, okay.
Liars!
I pull up and I'm like, who sold me this? And they're like, oh, okay, well, we didn't realize, you would need a longer one. I'm like, I host a podcast. They're like hours long. Like, what do you mean you didn't know how long I was going to need it for? It's not a little vlog thing.
Yeah.
It
was funny.
So now we get it fixed. They were really nice. This man at Best Buy was great.
Camcorder.
Love it.
Maybe we'll show you guys in a mirror.
Maybe I'll put it in an image right here where you guys can see it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Here,
let's see if I can learn.
Here, we're holding it. You hold the wrist, or I'll hold the wrist.
Oh, there you go. Yes. All right, great. So, you want to get creepy? Or tell them what we're about to get creepy about?
Yeah, let's tell them what we're going to get creepy
I know
about.
this like intro's been really long, and you're probably really confused.
There's so much to talk about.
Yeah, there is. There's a ton of things that we need to talk about. But the title of this, we haven't decided on it yet, but it has something to do with Reddit.
Yeah.
So, you're probably a little confused.
So our entirety of season 1 has been us like talking about, oh, we went in this Reddit hole, or like, oh, you have to read this Reddit thread, or we read you guys like Reddit threads to you that pertain to our segment. And so we were like, we love Reddit. You guys know we love Reddit. Hopefully you love Reddit too, because today's episode is going to be a Reddit special. We are going to take you down the Reddit holes of our favorite stories. So,
what are you drinking before we get creepy?
What are we drinking? It's a Sunday, football Sunday, so what do we have?
Blue Moons!
Cheers!
That was really good.
Gonna need to refreshen up, so if you guys see this, whenever we come back after the intro,
it's gonna be completely filled.
Mind your business.
No one talk about it, alright?
Alright, are you ready?
Yep.
If you're driving, throw that shit on cruise control.
If you got a glass, pour that shit up.
And let's get creepy!
Okay, Morgan, so what do you have for us today since you're going first?
Okay, the first story I'm reading to you guys is posted by user Australian Shepherds in the Reddit thread Glitch in the Matrix. And this was actually posted 11 days ago.
Oh my god.
So, she starts. I'm not really sure how to describe this story in a way that makes sense. I, 20 female, was 19 at the time. I had just gotten off work and left my office to pick up my boyfriend at the time. We both worked the swing shift. I got off at 11:30 and him at midnight, and we only had one car. Anyways, I had just gotten off the highway and was turning onto the street his office was on. About a fourth of a mile down the road, there was an intersection and the light was red. It was also filled with smoke and there were some boys standing in the intersection. I think they were crossing the street. The intersection also had a high school campus on it, and the football field was directly next to the street. As I pulled up to the intersection, I slowed down and stopped way earlier than I needed to because the scene was weird.
Oh.
I could see more people standing in the smoke and some boys in the football field. Then, a loud, dusty old sedan drove through the intersection, through a red light, and sped off in the direction I was headed. People then started getting out of their cars and running down the street towards me.
Okay.
The van in front of me was slowly backing up too. I hopped out of there, made a U-turn in the middle of the street, and drove back towards the highway. As I drove away, I started to hear gunshots. I called my then boyfriend to tell him it was going to take me longer to pick him up. I told him what had happened and I was pretty panicked. I picked him up and we went home. At home, I looked up the news and checked it for days. I never saw a thing. I also looked up the intersection to see if any news would pop up. And Google Maps said, there was a gas station and a Walgreens. I did some more research. The high school I had seen hadn't existed in 40 years. The next night, when I was driving to pick up the boyfriend, I paid attention to the intersection. and there was no high school.
Shut up.
So, going down through the thread.
Oh my God.
I
have chills.
Yeah, one user commented, his name is Carl Grove, or his username is Carl Grove, and he said that this is something called a time slip.
Okay.
And he like researches it, and he has a lot of reports of people that have experienced something like a time slip. And it comes down to a simple classification system. There's 4 different types. Type 1 is you see a purely visual, hazy, or blurred impression of a past place, structure, or event. Type 2 is a sharp, totally realistic image of something from the past. Witnesses can see it and be unaware that it is anything other than their ordinary perception. Type 3, the witness enters a past environment and is able to move about within it, but can make no physical contact with it. People in the environment seem unaware of the witness's presence. And Type 4, the witness seems to physically enter the past environment, can touch, pick up, and carry objects from that environment. The witness can communicate verbally with people in that environment and receive replies. So she was probably a Type 3, that they had no idea she was there. So
yeah.
Moving on, someone else had commented and said like, you know, like it's, have you looked into this? Like, have you looked into any event that took place at that location 40 years ago? And she said that she looked up previous shootings at the intersection, and there was one, a school shooting that happened in front of this, where the gas station now sits, where she was.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And so like they went on and they said like, you know, like perceiving an event like that, you're able to do this through like psychic mediums, or like sometimes it's not a glitch in the matrix, but because of you physically being there.
Was it the same day?
Same exact day.
Oh,
same exact time, same exact location of where
Holy
she was.
shit.
Yeah.
That is insane.
How freaking crazy. Can you imagine?
No. No, if I saw that, I don't know what I would do.
I would be calling 911, number
Literally.
one, and they'd be like, ma'am, there's no
Ma'am, that happened 40 years ago.
There's no Walgreens.
Yeah, that's a Walgreens and a gas station. And my name's Julie. Can you get the hell off the phone?
And she said it was the road that her boyfriend's office was on, which is interesting because she drives past it all the time. So seeing a school, like, I would have probably been like, oh shit, I got off the wrong exit. But,
yeah, like, oh, where am I at?
Yeah, like, oh, this looks familiar.
Like, maybe she was, like, listening to music and her vibe, not really paying attention. First of all, it was the middle of the night, right?
Right.
So she's like, I'm ready to go back home.
Yeah. How, I couldn't imagine. That's so
That
crazy.
is insane.
All right.
Okay, it's my turn now.
Sister. I'm going to get comfy.
You get comfy. And I'm going to read you this thread. And it's titled, the name of the story is, I Joined a Cult by Accident. And it's written by user Lucas Veer Beek. And this was written only 2 months ago. And it's on the Chilluminati podcast thread. Would I love that, or would I love that podcast?
I know, right? I saw that today, and I was like, I was on the thread today,
right.
And I was like, I had never even heard of this podcast, and now I feel rude.
Yeah, now I'm like, okay, fine. I'll listen to you, fine, whatever. So he talks a little bit in the beginning, or I'm sorry, and they talk a little bit in the beginning. And it's just kind of like more references to the podcast and so. But I'm just going to kind of start up where the actual story begins. And it says, up until my second year of high school, I would describe myself as being painfully gullible. I was going through a rough time, fairly depressed about the world, and not believing that I would ever actually have a purpose in life. As it would turn out, that left me pretty open to believing in something that, as I look back, now sounds utterly insane. When I was even younger, I had believed pretty heavily in magic. I was often told that I had an overactive imagination. I cried for hours when I was told that Santa wasn't real.
Me too.
Yeah, same. Well, I acted like I was really strong about it.
Actually,
and then I was like,
if you have kids in the car, he is real.
Yeah, he's wrong.
This person's wrong.
We're so wrong. This is so wrong. So, being in such a rough place and still being blessed that I had an overactive imagination allowed some folks to easily take advantage of me. Now, when I say I joined a cult, that's what I call it now, because I can't exactly think of another way to describe what I had gotten involved with. It started in 10th grade with me overhearing several people talking about performing rituals in the woods next to the school. They were older than me, and one of the girls, who I will call Allie, seemed to be much more into it than others. She wasn't the original ringleader. That is a girl that I will call Kate. And the others I won't name because, as with Kate, dipped out of the story pretty early. Their goal is achieved and pretty early on. So basically he's saying like the reason why they leave the so-called cult is because they got what they needed out of it pretty early. And that'll make sense later on. When I first read that, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was curious, and as I said, fairly gullible, and Kate began to explain to me that she and the others could perform spells and magic. Now, At first blush, I kind of nodded my head and listened, not fully believing what she was telling me, but Allie was wholesale in. As the first semester progressed, Kate began to latch onto my problems, telling me that she could fix them, that if I would listen to what she was telling me, I would be able to do magic too. Clearly, I never actually did any magic, but things began to happen when she was around that made me believe that something was going on. I began to feel that I was always being watched. I felt things touch me when no one was, chills down my spine whenever I was in her presence. I eventually got brave enough to ask Kate why that was. She told me, "Oh, that's my familiar. He likes you." This is when shit took a turn. She began to tell me that her eyes had been opened and that she could see a breadth of creatures that others couldn't see. She explained that she had opened Allie's eyes as well, and she could help me open mine. It was like something out of Spatterwick Chronicles. What a country way to say that.
Spatterwick Chronicles.
I'm really sorry. And I'd like to say I called bullshit on it right there and then, but I asked her if she could show me. She began to coach me into something that I would later learn was basically astral projection, telling me that I had things following me now, that I was close to getting past that barrier and having my eyes opened up. It never fully came about though, and my imagination began to fill in the gaps that she was leaving me. I began to see things out of the corner of my eyes, which, when combined with the feelings of being watched, convinced me that something was there. Allie, meanwhile, had fully committed, claiming out loud and to people that weren't in our little clique that she could see an entire plethora of magical creatures. She started talking about seeing Kate's familiar, a large, shadowy figure that once whispered to me she thought was a demon, and hers, which she sort of described as being a bison calf. She then began to tell me that I had one following me of my very own, a tiny dragon.
Cute, kind of.
Right, really cute. I doubted, but hey, that sounded really cool to me at the time. Kate made it worse by claiming that she could bond me to it, putting her hands on mine in the middle of lunch, saying something under her breath that now I'm pretty sure was just nonsense, and closing her eyes. I felt this weird prickling on my shoulder, and I reached up to touch it. Allie smiled and said, "Yep, that's him." After that, new kids started showing up, but they weren't focusing on Kate. They were focusing on Allie, asking her questions as she began to claim that she could work actual magic. I noticed that Kate allowed this to happen and faded away along with the other originals. I later learned that this was because Allie had a mental illness that was largely unmedicated and allowed the claims that Kate was making to actually seem real to her, much more real than it was to me. Kate wanted to destroy her reputation because Allie had actually briefly dated Kate's on and off boyfriend, and I was just drama. I was just collateral that seemed kind of funny. She was a grade A gaslighter, so good for her, I guess. With Allie on the reins, things took an odd turn. Younger students began to gravitate towards her, asking her questions about the things she knew. In turn, she began to ask me questions and helped open up the delusions that were forming in my own head. A hierarchy began to form, with her being the one, and somehow I was her advisor. since I had the previous knowledge about the clearly fake fantasy. I admit that it seems a little cracked, but there was this world that I had always wanted and I had sitting at my fingertips, and she was telling me more and more increasingly fantastical things, and I really wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. And I think most of the other kids that started listening to her did too. They came from bad home lives, had few friends, or were constantly bullied by other kids. But because of Allie, none of that mattered. She had been told to believe something, and she did with her whole heart believe it, and made the rest of us lost schmucks want to believe her and it too. I could delve into so much more with this story, but the key points are as follows. Kate began convinced that we were all from another world, that we all had past lives and needed to return from where we came from. And sigh, this is where shit honestly just gets kind of embarrassing. Hell, part of me wishes I could explain this away with drug use, but this was my faith in this girl and my wavering brain that did me in. She told me that she was a fairy, and I believed her. She told me that I didn't have a dragon following me around, but I was the dragon. And fuck me, I believed her.
Oh my gosh.
She began telling the other kids who had once been about our old home, this fantastical place, and that this definitely belonged in some D&D campaign. And we all, Dungeons and Dragons, and we all believed her. She wanted us to go there. And after a sudden change, things started to get dark. I began having dreams of people that had my face or kind of looked like me, watching me and my friends, acting happy to see me and wanting me to follow them. Allie told me that they were my siblings, my true siblings, not unlike my real younger sister. A new recruit that I'll call Vena came to the school with pentagrams carved into her chest and the back of her hands, claiming that a demon had forced her to do it. Allie began wanting to finally leave and go back home, and that we were going to come with her. She wanted to take us into the woods, and we would fall asleep and be home.
No, she'd kill you.
The newer recruits largely seemed interested in what she was doing, but I began to get scared, and the entire time other people had been whispering in my ear about how fake this was and how I was just going to get hurt or hurt others. My addled brain agreed, and following a series of odd events, I had the worst nightmare of my entire life. Allie and her current boyfriend had begun talking about how she was pregnant. Like I said, this shit got really fucking weird. And at the time, for a number of reasons, I had grown to really care for her and was always very protective of her well-being. Allie was convinced that the kid was magic and that the same forces that forced Vena to hurt herself were going to try to hurt Allie and her baby. She texted me late one night talking about how she was scared that she could hear something outside of her room and that her stomach was hurting her. She thought the baby was coming. To break away from the story for just a second, there was no signs that she was actually truly pregnant, and along with that, her and her boyfriend had only claimed that she had been pregnant for about 3 months. So I told her that things were going to be alright and that she was going to be fine. I don't remember falling asleep, but I must have, because the next thing I knew, I was standing in her room comforting her, and there was a baby in my arms.
What?
She told me another was coming, and I turned and handed the baby off to, me, or the me that had been visiting me in my dreams. And the thing, or me, smiled at me and, gore warning, bit into the baby's chest with a suddenly sharp set of teeth, and then looked up at me with solid black eyes.
Oh.
I was briefly shocked, back awake, and then slipped into unconsciousness where somehow the dream continued to go on. That thing was looking at me, smiling, and Allie was dead on the ground, her stomach cut open. I stabbed the thing that was looking at me, and fully woke up. I texted Allie asking if she was alright. She doesn't answer me for almost 10 minutes. For 10 minutes, the final part of me that doubted that everything that was happening was real, the part that told me that this had to be fake in some fashion, was gone. It was real. Every monster, every creature, Allie and the others had claimed to see, they were all real. They could hurt us, and they could make me hurt people. My friend was dead. I was shaking and dry heaving as she texted me back finally. We're okay. There was no kid at all, but she could see him, or so she claimed. And after that night, I could see something too. Whenever she would point at her son, I would look up and see a dead kid staring at me. What I learned later, where intrusive thoughts began to haunt my every waking hours as my brain could no longer tell fantasy from reality, everyone I looked at was getting hurt, and I couldn't eat a meal without imagining that I was biting into that baby. My dream became rampant, chaotic scenes with monsters stalking my every move, that everything with my face was almost among them. And I stopped sleeping. I stopped eating. I broke up with my girlfriend because I thought I was in danger to the people around me. And I stopped looking people in the eye and only stared at the ground. It finally became too much for me, so I told my parents what had been happening to me. They immediately put me in therapy, and that combined with a few revelations thanks to the old trusty internet, I learned that in the end, I had just been lied to. None of it was real, of course. None of it was real. But I had been tricked into believing it was. I know it sounds crazy. Hell, if someone came up to me and told me to my face that I'd cross the street to avoid them, I would cross the street to avoid them. But it all happened. I got better thanks to no small part of some medication therapy, though my therapist tried to get me to read Stranger in a Strange Land while I was trying to get over my nightmares of cannibalism, cultism, and yeah, I guess that was a good job there. My friend showing me the other kin, which embarrassed me even further, and my own anger driving me to never fall for something like that again. After I pulled myself together, I cut ties with everybody who had been in that cult and had kept it even all to myself even after I left. But it wasn't easy. But that's a story for a later time. And it goes on to talk about more, but like, how crazy is that?
So like, was this lady, like this Kate Allie, was she practicing, like, were they practicing black magic?
See, like, that's what,
like, there, it is something paranormal going on there, or was it just like they influenced her so much that she started to believe what they said, and it's more of like a mental, like, cognition, like.
So after reading through the comments, Allie was 100% like needing mental, like, therapy, basically. Yeah. She needed medication. She has a mental illness. But Kate, I think, and so does everybody in the comments as well as the person who wrote that, they believe that she really was practicing black magic and it had gotten out of hand.
And that's why it influenced her dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's why it was, that's why it was so embedded in their lives. And therapy made him think like he was just imagining it. Like, that's what therapy does to everybody, just so you know. But it was real. Like,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. When I read that one, I was just like, I know that this doesn't really go along with our podcast, but like, I had to talk about it.
Well, yeah, because when you think of a cult, you think of like, you know, like a couple, or like 50 people in the mountains somewhere, off-grid living. No, there are cults in probably your local high
schools. There was cults in my school, no doubt about it. And like, when you think back to it, absolutely.
And when you, I'm not even gonna say that, but yeah, no, for sure. Like, there's cults everywhere, and like, and you would just never know. And it's just like you were at the wrong place at the wrong time when you started communicating to that one person, like she was.
Well, and when you're in high school, like, you want to believe that like you're. And when you're in high school, you know, you're desperate for friends and desperate for love, and whoever gives that to you, regardless of what they do, like, you're going to accept that. Yeah. And then you start getting trust in them, and because they're trusting you with the information they're sharing with you, and then you believe them. Like, it's so, that's crazy. That is crazy. Okay, are you ready to tell us your next story?
Yeah, okay. So, going off of our first glitch in the Matrix, I have yet another thread to tell you guys about. So this was posted by user Thrasham under the Reddit thread Glitch in the Matrix, and it actually was posted 16 days ago, and it happened 16 days ago. So I did the math, and it happened on September 10th, the night before 9/11.
Oh my god.
So it says, time glitch. Something weird happened to my brother and I tonight. Tonight, I believe my brother and I somehow got into a time loop, or deja vu. Something odd, and nothing feels right anymore. My brother, who's 13, and myself, 25, were in a car waiting for our family to be done at Walmart. It was around 9:40 p.m. We think nothing of waiting and just talk passing the time as my brother tells me about school from his 6th grade adventures. How fun.
Aww.
Mainly about weird kids in his class. Keep in mind, we are in the back seat of a truck and are in the parking lot of Walmart. Looking to the right as I'm seated on that side, I see a man wearing a dirty white shirt running with his daughter as they wail and holler and laugh. Seeing this, my brother and I both laugh because it was kind of funny to watch. On the left of the truck on my brother's side is a blue car. A man is packing that car but taking forever. So we go back to talking. About 2 minutes later, a group of 3 girls walk by the truck laughing and saying random banter that I can't quite remember. Something along the lines of someone being so funny. They get in the car diagonal to the truck and laugh before pulling out and leaving. My brother notices the blue car guy finally leaving as well moments later. He commented with saying, "Finally." Here's the weird part. After we talk a little bit more and laugh with each other, suddenly we hear a familiar wail. I turn to the right, and it was the same dirty white shirt guy running the same path with the same daughter laughing. I said deja vu out loud and felt a little weird. That feeling of what in the world? My brother laughed a bit thinking I was memeing till he looked and noticed the blue car guy packing his car up yet again.
No.
We pay no mind, thinking maybe he forgot something and go about talking again until we hear the laugh of the 3 girls. They load up and pass our windows again. Getting in the car diagonal of us, same outfits, same being so funny. By now, my brother and I are looking at each other. I mentioned it's weird, and why is that guy running the same path twice? My brother said, well, maybe he forgot something in the store. We shake it off, and I look at my dying phone that was at 2% charge, and we note the time. It's 9:50 p.m. My phone dies trying to load up YouTube, and we laugh and we talk. My brother takes his Nintendo Switch after some time and notes the time is still 9:50.
What?
After we were talking for at least a good 5 minutes. We think it's weird, getting a little nervous, but distract each other with jokes. About what feels like 2 to 3 minutes later, the same white shirt guy and daughter run out of the store, wailing and laughing. We see it, and now we are worried. We turn to the left, and the blue car guy is still packing his car. My brother comments, well, maybe we're just in that time loop, like you said. Like, this is a 13-year-old boy. Then the girls come out, and they're laughing, and someone being so funny, and they go to their car again.
I was freaked.
This time we do something different. We watch this white shirt guy load up his daughter in his van and talk to the driver for a bit before getting in and pulling out. I was curious to see if they actually left this time. The girls leave next, and finally, the blue car. My brother states, if it happens again, we have to go in the store. We feel like it's been ages waiting till we see our family leave the store and come to the car. Finally, they arrive, and they don't believe us. Only our father, who likes to read about theories, and then we make a note of them. It's 9:55 p.m. How did all of that happen in what felt at least 20 minutes happen in 5 minutes? How did we see the same people 3 times doing the same thing 3 times? We aren't tired, and we both witnessed the same events, and both are in agreement. Our family says that they also felt strange in the store, but to leave it at that. What happened to us? It's been on my mind. Were we stuck in a time loop? He says, any answers help. Thanks for reading. And he responded to someone. He said, my brother and I waited in the car for our family at Walmart and witnessed the same events happen 3 times with the same people around all somehow in the span of 5 minutes. So, going through the thread.
Okay, I'm excited.
These people said that usually when you experience a time loop, one, think of Loki. If you guys have watched Marvel,
yes.
Think of Loki. So they call them the time, like, not on Loki, but through this thread, they refer to them as the time cops.
Right.
And they said maybe you too saw something you weren't supposed to see, and the time cops reset it. And you noticed that they reset it, so you looked again. And then they had to reset it until you finally did something different and you watched the girls leave. And they said another thing. That man that was packing his van so slowly and left after the 3 girls came out of Walmart, maybe he had bad intentions and it just wasn't the girls' time to go. And that they were resetting it to protect the girls. And that these boys just got stuck in it. And then there was another theory that maybe the boys were supposed to go into Walmart with their parents.
Right.
And something, and that way they would avoid whatever happened. Maybe they were in danger. And that's why their parents felt that, like,
something was off.
Something was off. And because they were separated their parents, it created that, like, time divergence. And then, what was the last one?
Well, first off, what if the kid and the man in the dirty white shirt running to his car was abducting her?
Yeah.
Into the white van with the driver? Like, what?
And they saw it. So they said, like, so whenever the time, people that get stuck in time loops, it's because they're placed at, like, the singularity event. They're right there, right when it happens. Everyone else is not aware of it. So when that reset happened, it happened to everyone. It happened to us 16 days ago. We got reset 3 different times. It was the night before 9/11
at 9:40,
9:50 p.m.
Me and you talked that entire day.
And we said, what did we say?
Something feels
off. That 9/11, we were supposed to record and we couldn't.
No,
because we were like, something is up, we're drained. Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember that. Me and you were like, literally, we can't talk today.
Look at my skin.
We're not okay. We're not okay. We're not okay.
Okay, and then another person is like, I'm constantly seeing, like, time loop Reddit posts, and I really follow them because it had happened to me once.
Right.
And he was like, and over the course of the last couple of months, probably 90% of them have been in Walmarts. And he said, what if it's the Walmarts that we need to look into? Like, what if shit is always going down in Walmart?
Always
going down in Walmart. So he was like, what if it's, like, the Walmarts that we need to go?
And then that leads us into the backroom theories.
Yes.
Ooh. And that's like malls and Walmarts and department stores and all that.
So our listeners, you guys out there, you were reset 3 different times at 9:50 p.m. on November 10th, 2020.
And we knew it! We knew it!
I saw this, and whenever I did the math, I was like, oh my god. I was like, I have to do this one. I know I just said Glitch in the Matrix, but I have to do this one because Taylor and I knew shit was going wrong. We didn't even record on this Saturday.
We literally said we cannot record because we won't be able to record correctly.
Yeah.
God, that makes me think about every time. Guys, there's been plenty of times that we've, like, started a recording and the recording doesn't work. Like, it literally does not record our voices. Or we thought we pressed record, like we just did. By the way, we're not going to tell you where, but
it was really interesting reading through. I could do all of the glitch. This was my last one, but I could do so many of them. There were so many people saying, like this would appear, this would disappear. Like, I would, like, revert back. This one guy said that he was eating a sandwich and he just got real dizzy and he fell out of his chair and he saw red and it was like this big loud vibrational, like, feeling over his body, and he got back up and he looked at his table ready to throw his trash away and his sandwich was there fully intact and he just ate it.
I would have been hype about that.
This thread is crazy. But okay, so I want to mention this before we move on to your story. Another commenter said, whenever you experience a time loop, it's often that you'll have sleep paralysis that night because these people are trying to, like, erase your memory. So they put you in this trance. So it, like, brings a whole entire new conspiracy theory into what sleep paralysis, like, really is.
Right.
Because they're, like, they put you in that trance-like state and they're trying to, like, rewire what you just saw so you don't know that you were in a time loop.
Shut up.
How crazy is that?
That is insane.
Yeah.
Well, then you're going to love my next story because it kind of is a little bit of a glitch in the Matrix.
Yay!
But on a paranormal crazy side of it.
Okay.
So here, let me get it pulled up real fast. Okay, so I've got it pulled up now, and it is titled Echoes. And it is also on the Chilluminati podcast.
Chilluminati!
Thank you. Shout out to you. Never listened to you, but I'm sure I'm going to love you from all of your listener stories. And this was posted 2 months ago by Victoria's Ghost. So, like I said, the title of it is Echoes, and I'm just going to hop right into it. I'm not going to start off by saying, I'm not going to start this by assuring you that I'm a true skeptic who doesn't believe in paranormal. I'll just start by telling you the story because it is the most bizarre thing that has ever happened to me, and more than 10 years later, I'm still not over it. I'm from Germany, so please bear with me if some of my vocabulary seems a little off. In 2009, I was volunteering at a small archive near the rural town that I grew up in. There wasn't much to do most of the time, so my boss and I regularly drove to Cologne, which I had to look up if Cologne was a place in Germany. So I don't know if it's pronounced Cologne, but that's the way it's spelled. Is that what you think?
It looks
is that how you spell
the American word of Cologne? Yeah.
So basically, I drove all the way to Cologne because he had a friend there that at the time who worked at the historical archive who needed help with some of his research. So we did just that on Monday, March 2nd. We drove over and went about our usual work. My archivist and his friend were planning on an exhibition about Cologne as a Roman settlement, and we were all doing research for that, assembling recent and older findings that could... Sorry, I had to make sure that the camera was recording because we've done that twice now. Okay, let me keep going. Assembling recent and older findings that could interest the public. Everything was normal until, out of nowhere, my ears started ringing. It was a feeling as if something was rumbling on a very low frequency, very, very loud, and drowned out everything else. My first reflex was to push my palms against my ears, but somehow that just made it worse, and it felt like my whole body was vibrating because of that sound. My archivist must have noticed that something was wrong with me because I remember that he came over and pushed his hands on my shoulders while I was getting more and more disoriented and nauseous. He later told me that I first said, "I can't hear anything," to him very loudly, and then, "I'm going to pass out," clearly distressed. I kind of remember that they made me lay down on the floor because they were afraid that I was going to fall from the chair and that the floor felt like it was vibrating too. Later, when I was able to stand up again, we took a taxi to the hospital where doctors tried to find out what was wrong with me. The vibrating in my ears had stopped them and left them kind of numb. But the doctors determined that I had suffered from an acute hearing loss one could only get because of really loud noises or intense distress. None of which I suffered on that day, but they told me that I should take it slow for the next couple of days. So the next day, I didn't go to the archive, and my archivist didn't drive to Cologne to help his friend because they wanted to include me in their research for the exhibition and didn't want me to feel left out just because I was sick. That's very kind of them. And that's the sole reason why all three of us remained unharmed, because on March 3rd, 2009, the historical archive in Cologne collapsed along with two neighboring apartment buildings, burying the place where we would have been doing our research, and around 90% of all the archives were stored at the time. I don't think that I am a clairvoyant, and I don't think I had been a moment before that day, but maybe I was able to hear the echo of the incident or something like that. Time is weird, and I firmly believe that many paranormal happenings are just overlapping in time. I've included a link to the article of the incident if you want to read up on it. So I read up on it, and I am 100% convinced that they heard the collapse before it happened.
And that's why she got her acute hearing loss.
Yes. Are you kidding me? Yeah.
Wow.
So at first when I was reading this, I was like, this is about to be like a ghost came out of the archives.
Right.
Something crazy happened. It's going to be insane. And then I was like, no, this is crazier because it was real shit.
And how many, like, 9/11 was recent. This is the second time we've referenced it. But how many people are like, oh, like, my mom went into labor that day. That's why I got saved. Or my dad missed the train to go to work.
Exactly.
And that's why he got saved. Like, there's so many things that happen, and I truly believe that it's the universe that's putting it out there that's giving them these reasons not to be at the location that would cause them harm because it's not their time.
Exactly. Like, literally someone went on to, like, explain, like, sorry, this was a response in German, so I had to translate it to English, so it might be a little crazy. It said the archive building collapsed because of construction work nearby on a subway station, but the work had been dormant on the day before, so I couldn't have heard that. So basically, they were like, well, it said in the article that there had been construction leading up to the days that caused it, and they're like, no, the construction was stopped that day because whatever. Wow. And there was nothing.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. It freaked me out. It really did freak me out.
So she's either definitely, like, spiritually intact, like she's a clairvoyant,
like someone was,
or it was something more of like a glitch in the matrix.
Yes.
Like it was the universe.
It was literally,
which is all one and the same, if you ask me.
Yeah. Wow. What a cool story.
Yeah, that was great.
All right. Let's move on to your next one.
Okay. Before I start the story, he had posted a Reddit thread or a Reddit post about this creature that he's been seeing in his dreams, and he was like, has anyone seen this? And he drew a picture of it, and a lot of people are like, this like absolutely this is like a textbook, like alien right here.
Oh, so my God.
This is like a follow-up to that. He said, I posted here about a weird creature I saw during this experience and decided to post about the experience itself because of all of you. It's a strange memory I have from 5 years ago that I never really thought to talk about until now. The first thing I remember is standing in a huge line of very still people in a big white room. We were like moving like we were on a conveyor belt. I was calm and in a trance-like state, but I was somewhat alert. I even remember being so aware that I seemingly wasn't supposed to be as alert as I was.
Oh.
My mother was in front of me, and I remember being worried about her because she was disabled and could easily be hurt. The next thing I remember is sitting in a group of people, close to an elongated window that showed the stars and looking at a big screen of some sort. I can't remember what was on that screen, only what I saw in my peripheral vision. In my weird trance state, I just assumed it was nighttime and we were watching TV. Something was standing beside me and doing something to my ear. I could hear and feel a sort of drill sound. Every 30 or so seconds, I heard what sounded like a laser deep inside my ear. And every time I heard this, I got a quick and splitting localized headache in the front left side of my brain. I remember really wanting to turn my head and just look at its face, and I tried to, but my body wasn't doing what I was telling it to do.
Ooh.
The next thing I remember is kneeling on the ground and holding a baby gray alien in my hands. It was tiny and had something wrong with its skin. It looked blistered or rashy. I remember thinking it was so adorable and overflowing with love for it. I was cooing at it, and so were some other people in my group. It was taken away from me, and I knew I'd never see it again, but I knew that it would be safe. My next memory is of being fully alert and absolutely terrified. I've never felt fear like that before, but I was acting completely irrationally and purely on instinct. I was alone and quickly walking from place to place, trying to not breathe and to be silent. I figured out how to open, quotation, doors. I was in areas I wasn't supposed to be in. And then I walked into a room and I saw a green humanoid creature with its back to me holding some kind of machine. Stupidly, I scooped up handfuls of this ice-like stuff nearby and just started throwing it at it. It turned around and calmly walked towards me, and I kept throwing that stuff at it even though I knew it would do nothing and it would just annoy the thing. The creature then held out its hand and spoke without opening its mouth. I can't remember the exact words it said, but it told me that no matter what I did, they would find me, so I should make things easier for them.
True.
I considered that for a second, and then I leant my shoulder into his hand. It felt rubbery and clammy, and then it sent a semi-painful jolt through my body unlike anything I had ever experienced. I collapsed to the ground and I opened my eyes in bed, but I did not feel rested or like I had slept at all. The pain was so real, I was certain a bug or something must have bitten me. But when I looked at my shoulder and pressed, there was nothing more. I remember calmly acknowledging that I had probably just been abducted by aliens and not even being bothered by it.
Okay.
I didn't even really think about any of this until a few months back. I had just ignored it over all those years. And it did not feel like a dream, not in the slightest. So his title for this story is called Abduction / Breeder Program. So this starts a huge conspiracy throughout the comments. Basically, everyone's saying, like, that's a textbook alien abduction. I've heard about the white rooms. I've heard about the conveyor belts, the trance-like state, and, like, maybe your body or your mind is just too open to, like, get into that trance-like state, I guess. But it started a huge conspiracy theory throughout the comments that that's what the abductions are for. They're using us to breed with them to get components from our body in these babies. And it was like the baby that he held, maybe it was one of his own, or it was like a defective, because he said it was rashy, it had blisters all over him, like it had gone wrong.
Oh no.
Yeah, so this is his alien abduction. He actually posts a lot about this event, but he didn't remember any of it until a couple of months ago. And a lot of people were like, how did you like come about? Like, what triggered this memory for you?
Right.
And he was like, it just all came to me one day. And that's also classic textbook alien like reoccurrences. Like that always happens. These people don't have any clue what goes on. Like we saw in Travis Walton, like he was like getting pieces of it in flashbacks. And a lot of people, for a lot of cases, they either do like hypnosis or, you know, they talk to like some person that is good with this kind of stuff. And a lot of the time they get all their memories back at once. So that, I thought it was crazy.
That is crazy.
And then one of the comments who I'm definitely want to talk about, I just noticed this comment before Taylor read her story, and it's about this woman named Sherry Wild, and she claims that she has a ton of hybrid children with what they call the Greys, which is what he was referencing.
Right.
So that's something I definitely want to cover.
Maybe next week.
Who
knows?
But yeah, how crazy is that? We're just this giant breeding program.
That is insane.
Like, why else do they want us? Like, you know they're more advanced than us, you know? Like, why us? Like, there's other freaking species out there that are way more intelligent and way more, you know, just like put together than the freaking human race. Like, look at us.
100%.
Look at
We're sitting here talking right now on a podcast. Hey, we think this might be real. They're like, everybody else knows it's real. Why do you not understand that it's real?
Yeah, so that was my little alien spiel for the day. You know I had to do one of them.
Of course you had to.
We were doing a Reddit special.
Right.
All right. You're up, girl.
Okay. This is from the Reddit thread 2 X chromosomes, sorry. And it's titled, My Stalker Was Finally Arrested, Breathing Relief. So finally a true crime one. Hi. I'm back again. If you know me, you know I'm obsessed with all things creepy, actually. So and crime.
She loved this segment.
But I love being able to tell spooky stories. So this is from user Level Conversationist, and it was posted 3 months ago. And it says, I'm on my throwaway account because my main account could potentially reveal my identity, and this feels safer for me. Me, 27 at the time, him, 33. I just wanted to say before we get to the end and are disappointed, I am not the one who got him arrested. Why would we be disappointed that you got your stalker arrested? We're not disappointed, girly. So, for about a year, I was dealing with my stalker / abusive partner turned ex, and he finally was arrested yesterday. We started dating in 2018, and in hindsight, all of the narcissistic / abuser red flags were there. Love bombing from day one, weird obsessions with controlling my life by projecting his insecurities and morals on me, aka no drinking or smoking pot, which was a big one. He was primarily focused around how I spoke about him on social media. The big problem being that I didn't. I could write a novel about the controlling aspects alone. I had just gotten out of a long-term relationship, and I was looking for a casual dating life. And he drove fast and hard. By the end of the week of our first date, he had already told me that he was certain that I was the one and that he was falling in love with me and wanted to be official. I backed off, red flags. I backed off because it was a lot. I wasn't ready to be in a relationship, especially for public consumption. A few weeks later, he came back apologizing, admitting that he was being over the top, and I tried again, keeping it casual. For about 2 months, he was fine and took things slow enough. And then he started to obsess over me, not posting him or anything on social media. He would take boomerang videos of me eating, and I'd ask him to please stop because honestly, I don't want a video of me eating being taken. Neither do I, okay? He called me constantly. His job had him on the road a lot, and I worked in an in-office environment. And I couldn't understand why he was constantly calling me. He memorized my schedule, and he knew that from 4:30 to 5 I was driving home. He would call, and I took lunch between 11 and 1, and he would call until I answered. Back then, Instagram had the feature that said something like active at 17 minutes ago.
Thank God it's gone.
Right. And I had been active on there, but not texting him back, and he absolutely lost on me. I liked Instagram more than him. I don't know how good I have it. I am shady. I took all the steps back and kind of ghosted him. So basically that's what he was saying about her. And I started talking to someone new. So basically they ended it and she starts talking to someone new. This is kind of like spacey. That's why I'm giving you a little bit more of like an explanation, because the first time I read it I was kind of confused. I went on an international vacation in 2019 and I was in customs and my phone began blowing up with a new guy that I was talking to. And he told me that I was disgusting, to never talk to him again. I was trying to discern what was going on. He said that I talked to Mike and he knew about him and I hadn't talked to Mike since November 2018, so I had no idea what was going on. I tried to defend myself, but the damage had been done. I had unfollowed but not blocked Mike, which was a mistake. My guess is that he had noticed us liking each other's photos, and the new guy had commented on one of our photos, "You're such a babe," but that's the best guess I got. So I'm assuming that the man that was talking to her, his name is Mike.
Yes, yeah.
So I got on social media for the first part after that, and I always had this weird feeling that I was being watched. My mom said that Mike sounded insane. So I live alone, and my dad bought me a taser, and my mom got me a Ring camera for my house. Both were nice to have, regardless of the situation. I was coming home from the gym one night, and I passed him coming the opposite direction. It wasn't that weird. We lived in the same suburban area, about 10 minutes apart, and I lived off a pretty main road, so I didn't think much of it. I checked my cameras, but Ring only notifies you if there's movement detected, and there was none. So I kind of forgot about it. I had my birthday in June of 2019. A gaggle of friends came over. We were drinking and just chatting over a bonfire, and one of my friends left and said, "Doesn't Mike drive a minivan with black wheels? If so, he's parked a few houses down." I hopped on my Ring camera, live view, and could see his van. I took a screenshot. Honestly, I was tipsy, having fun, and didn't do anything about it until the next morning. Dumb. The police came over and said, unfortunately, that they did not have enough plausible deniability that she would have been in trouble. So they said there was not much that they could do and told me to just stay diligent. I went to all my neighbors and explained the situation and gave everyone my phone number. I was so grateful to know how kind and receptive they were. I have never been so very cautious of a person, but being alone in my house started to get weird, and I noticed that I had bad anxiety at night with a lot of paranoia. Showering always scared me, and I found myself terrified that there would be someone lurking outside of my frosted windows. I really started to notice that my home felt like a glass bowl and no longer like a safe space. I really only had the one instance that I knew of for sure that he had been at my home, but still something felt off. The rest of the summer was relatively quiet. In August, I had met a guy and I really liked him. I went on a few dates with him and I was, bless you.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. And I was genuinely into him and it just felt right. It never felt like the first night that we were going to have a sleepover, and I was in all sorts of excitement or nervous. So my phone started blowing up from an unknown number. I'm sorry. So it was the first night that they were going to like have a sleepover. Sorry, I read that wrong. And she was really excited / nervous. So her phone starts blowing up from an unknown number. I didn't answer it, obviously. And then I got a text from the number that I didn't have, and it said, "You're a horrible person." I knew it was him. I went to the bathroom and checked my Ring camera, and I could see his minivan on my Ring camera. I took a screenshot. I was all nerves. I didn't want to scare off my new guy with disclosing the fact that I had this guy lurking outside of my house. I texted my mom and told her what was going on, and she called the police on my behalf and explained what was going on. The police drove by and asked him why he was in the neighborhood.
As a white van pulls up.
Exactly. I literally just freaked out. It's just the mailman. Nobody worry. So the cops pulled up, and he said that he was visiting a neighbor's house and was just texting back some people before he started driving. So the cops asked him which house that he was at, and he pointed to one of my neighbors. So the police went over to our neighbor's house, and they said, "Nope, that's not true." The police asked him again what he was doing in the area. And he said that he thinks that his boyfriend is cheating on him, aka me, girlfriend, aka me, and was looking to see if that was the case. The police asked him for any evidence that we were actually together, and he said that he was so mad that he deleted it all. So the police escorted him to his home, and in the morning I filed a restraining order. I kept texts telling him to leave me alone, texted friends, blah, blah, blah. At one point in the night, he had messaged my new guy on Instagram telling him, "When you're done riding her, give her a ride over here to get her shit."
Oh,
are you kidding me? For context, since meeting this new guy, I had posted one picture and he liked it. The only way that he could have found this new guy was either by looking through my followers or likes and identifying the new guy's car he posted all over his IG. On one hand, I was absolutely humiliated when the new guy asked me about it the next day. But I was also relieved when he had approached it with kindness, and we are still together. Woo! So the restraining order was served and issued, whatever the terms are, and it was, going on until 9/17/2019. On November 11th, 2019, he made a dummy Facebook account to thank me for treating him like shit, because it taught him that he'll never tolerate a dumb whore again.
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ. Cheese and rice.
Cheese and rice.
Sorry. I sent it to the police, but it was technically not a violation, and that was the last I ever heard from him. I got pretty desperate messages in October of 2020 from a girl who had asked me if I had ever had a sour experience with him, because he had been outside her house messaging her exes, looking to gang up on her. I shared my experience and encouraged her to tell the police and add on to what I was already putting onto his record. She gave all of the evidence. She caught the red flags way sooner than I did. She had 2 kids, and her mama bear instincts were kicked in, and filed a PPO. Her and I talked a few times in detail. He had painted me to be a cheating, conniving monster who led him down a path of heartbreak and trauma. I had begged him to come over just so he could see me in the arms of another man.
Oh,
psycho! No. And that she had reached out to me a few months ago to tell me that another girl had contacted her having a similar experience. I've never talked to the new girl, but I've heard that from the girl above that he was going to her place of work without permission and even forced her to post a photo of them together on her business account because she wasn't being open enough with the world. I guess things got pretty bad, and she was able to have him arrested for stalking him last night. He's not been on my radar for nearly 2 years now, and his tactics were always just very mild enough to avoid true charges or trouble. And now he's finally being tried for stalking and harassment. I hope he is charged to the fullest extent, and I hope that when women Google his name from now on, that they can see his mugshot and full record and not let anything stand in the way of saving women from him going forward. I've learned that any behavior that triggers my gut feeling needs to be listened to. I spent a really long time blaming myself and believing that I had caused my own anxieties with a lot of poor self-talk. Like, you should have ran from the first flag, but those red flags aren't always easy to see. Trust your gut and enlist help. I felt so ashamed in silence, and I still don't feel it's something that I can really openly talk about. But it's at least a start. Thanks for listening. I needed to get this off of my chest.
What a psychopath.
What a psychopath. Are you shitting me?
Dude, stalking...
Stalking's weird.
Yeah. It's like... I don't know. Like, it's like you're the type that always get obsessed over things, but you're getting obsessed over the wrong things, and you probably have some, like, mental issues going on there. For sure, but what a psychopath.
What a psychopath.
And also props to her new man for being like...
It's okay, let's help you through it.
Instead of the guy before him that was like, you dirty liar.
When they were in customs, going on an international trip together.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know how that story ended. Can we please get a continuation?
Right, and
happened?
you know how he's able to find out, like, the next guy and the next guy. He probably has seen her Reddit post.
Absolutely, probably.
And he's probably listening to this right now.
Hey...
Just probably tracking the IP addresses, and also, if you are listening to this, you're a psychomaniac.
You're a psychomaniac, alright? No stalking people on here. We don't fucks with y'all. Gotta go.
Yeah.
You ready for your story?
Yes, it's our last and final story.
Woo-hoo.
And I hardly ever talk about this topic, so I'm really excited to talk about it.
I'm excited.
And this is posted by user The Holistic Hoe. Love that.
Love.
And it's under the Reddit thread Astral Projection. And it's titled, I had my first spontaneous astral projection experience and met extraterrestrial, as well as learning about my past life.
Shut up. I'm so excited. Okay, come on.
So this was a positive astral projection experience.
Let's go.
She says, hi, this is my first post here. I hope someone finds this interesting, and I would be interested to see if anyone had a similar experience or any insights on what happened. I've told a fair few people in real life, and they are bemused by it, at the very most, really. A bit of background information about me. I am 31, female, and I have never learned too much about astral projection. Neither have I ever tried to do it. I have been building up my spiritual awareness and practice over the past few years, spending a lot of my lockdown in Australia, learning about past life regression and more about why we are here.
Oh, yeah.
This next word you're going to have to help me with. I had a Reiki session. Reiki session.
For some reason, I can't think of the word right now, but I know it.
Okay, I had a Reiki session the week before my astral projection, and I had the experience on a Sunday night around 6 months ago now, and it has not happened since. I will explain exactly what happened, and I am aware it sounds pretty out there, but hopefully not to this community. Please be kind, as I haven't shared this publicly before, but it was so eye-opening, I want other people to know. I went to bed as normal, but felt very restless and tossed and turned a lot at first, which isn't normal for me. Once that I had fallen asleep, I was definitely dreaming really weird stuff at first, but it was definitely just normal dreamy things that I can't remember. My memory begins when a girl who was with me at this point in my dream said that we are going to take you to Venus.
Ooh.
She came off as a pink and fairy-like, seeming with a wand. She pointed at my body and was said, we're opening your third eye. And laughed and said, it wasn't even in your head, but everyone thinks it is. So, third eye's not in your head.
Ooh, okay.
It was at this point I knew it wasn't just a dream. I was there. I could feel the environment, the breeze, and everything. This has never happened before, and it was a completely different experience than a dream. It was so real, I could feel I was there. I was really there at this point. It was a hyper real, like more real than life. We got into a pink elevator. This experience, I'm sorry to pause here, sounds like an Arlette experience. We got into a pink elevator. This girl who felt like a leader, maybe she's my guide. I felt completely comfortable following her, and she had a knowledgeable your guide vibe.
Okay, Arletta.
Exactly. Once we got out the elevator, as soon as I stepped out, there was a real alien guy there.
Oh. This
made me jump as he had a huge blue almond-shaped eyes that were further apart than ours and looked almost human. But Interesting enough, he was incredibly tall, 7 or 8 feet.
Ooh.
He had medium wavy, pale blonde hair, a very small nose, Venetians.
Ooh.
Small ears, and a very wide smile with round, slightly weird teeth. He was wearing a blue tunic that was very unusual as it looked like a cow neck. He had a blue gem in the middle of his head, and the blue was dazzlingly bright. He gave me a big hug, like a parent does with a child they haven't seen in a while. I put my arms around his neck, and he swung me up and looked me in the eyes. I could see the wrinkles by his eyes and all the details of his face. I was thinking, this is amazing. Telepathically, he gave me a big feeling of happiness and reassurance, and it was the most amazing feeling of love and safety, like I was his family. When he put me down, I looked at my body, and it looked like a fake suit you put on for a film like Mrs. Doubtfire.
Ooh.
With a zipper at the back that you can put on to change your body shape. It freaked me out, but I also just felt bemused, like, oh, my body is just a suit I put on. Like, it kind of melted away after this point, particularly my chest, and disappeared like it could just be thrown away.
Okay.
We moved on at this point. I was in a little tour group, it felt like, with the girl leading the way around the place showing me things. It had a really beautiful baby pink sky. I felt a bit like I was at a theme park on one of those kind of walking chill rides where you just marvel at cool things like Disney World. I asked if we were at Venus, and she laughed at me and said no. If we were, everything would be going a lot faster.
Oh.
I could feel everything around me, particularly the way the atmosphere. It felt way more flowy, like a strong current. I then said I felt cold, and they were like, we can grab you a jacket from here, and I walked over. I noticed it was like a rack of clothes from different eras in uniforms, like on a set of a theater show. I looked at myself, and I saw I was wearing this old-fashioned, wimpy restaurant outfit. This was an old fast food place in the UK. And there were some roller skates as well on the ground. I held the pleated skirt out and could see every seam and marveled how real it seemed. On the rack, there was an old man's waistcoat and a few other things that I thought, these aren't helpful for my coldness, but I realized they were outfits from past things, like past lives, from my life. And I also realized that I wasn't cold anymore, that I only needed to see the outfits. I became aware of 2 young boys that were on the little tour with us, and I thought, do I know who you are? Are you my brothers? I don't have any in real life. And they looked at me a bit like, duh, and I realized that they were also me. They were only around 7 or 8 and working class looking from the UK history. An older working class man, again, from some point in history appeared with us, and along with the pink fairy girl, they were really quite funny and sarcastic with the way they spoke to me, which I liked. And it was really very real and very comforting. At this point, the girl sat me down, and I noticed a hologram next to me. I said, is this what Earth is really like? And I brushed my hand through it, and it felt like I was going through water, but less strong. Also, incredibly real. I can remember exactly how it felt, and it kept doing it to marvel as how it felt. Then I saw a tiny dog hologram, and it made me smile. Then it turned to being a big, massive dog, which scared me. And this man made some comment about it not being anything to be scared of, because I have a fear of large dogs in real life. I asked why I felt scared of big dogs for no reason, but he didn't elaborate. At that point, I was like, okay, I know this is real, and I'm not in my body. Am I okay? I felt a bit panicked as I of course sensed I wasn't in my body, and I knew I couldn't wake up or roll over. The girl next to me told me that I was totally fine, and that it had only been 20 of your minutes, as time isn't a thing here. She showed me a picture of my body back in bed on Earth with my cats that I sleep with. I was a bit like, am I dying or something? Then as soon as I thought that, I opened my eyes and I was back here in bed. I was no way a normal wake up, my eyes shot completely open. It was 6 a.m. Sorry, this is like, it definitely seems translated for some reason, but yeah. And I was very, very awake and excited. I got straight up and wrote notes in case I forgot, but it's still in my head and I can recall the whole thing perfectly. I couldn't go back to sleep as my body was buzzing, and I was incredibly excited and amazed by what had just happened. I did some research after this and felt very blessed it had happened. I had no interest in space or extraterrestrials at this point, and ashamed to say, I assumed a lot of people who had stories were dubious. Now, it had happened to me. I spent a lot of time seeing if anyone else had these blue aliens. I had come to the conclusion he was a variant of the Nordic or tall white aliens or Venetians. It was an incredibly positive experience, and it made me feel part of something bigger and encouraged me to explore more about the universe, knowing that it wasn't just for us. Thank you for reading all the way.
I loved it.
How crazy is that?
And it also makes me like kind of think back to the first story that I gave, where it was like, am I in my past lives, like all that stuff, you know what I mean? But I loved it.
So everyone that was on that tour with her, those were her past lives. They made her feel cold so she could go look at outfits to realize like who she was in past lives. And like,
oh my god.
It's a beautiful story.
That is crazy.
So I wanted to end it on that.
It is a beautiful
story. And that is a very positive astral projection experience. And I will tell you guys that not all of them are positive.
No.
So if you are messing around with that, just...
Right. So I have been looking, like I said, I called it a case. It's not a case. It was a story on Reddit, and it was about this person that had died and his like death story, like what he saw, because he was brought back to life. Obviously, he wouldn't be typing it on.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, he was like going to, I don't know if he was like picking up his kid from school or something, but there was all these anti-mask like people protesting that the kids don't need to be wearing masks. Did you read this one?
Yes.
Okay. And he was like, no, they need to be wearing masks. And so he was like a part of the protest that was like for masks against the people that were anti-maskers. And in like a fit of rage, something happened, and they were like screaming at this one teacher, like, we know where you live, we're gonna come after you. And it was primarily this one older man. So this dude, in a fit of rage, like picks up a rock and throws it at this guy, and it cracks the dude's skull open. Like, it was nasty, like not cool, okay? I don't care what protest you're in, that's not cool to kill somebody, alright?
Right.
And so he like hurts this man. And so the anti-mask protesters come over to the pro-mask protesters, and they get this huge fight. They're primarily going after this dude that cracks the man's skull. And they bust his skull open, and he goes unconscious, and they're like beating him up on the ground. And he like blacks out. And he's like, I was raised from my body, and I went to this angel. And he was like, there was these giant gates, like this like very nice, like white, soft stone floor, blah blah blah. And he's like talking about the detail of it. He's like, there was this angel that was at this like bronze wings, and they were like, is this your name? And he had to like say like yes. And they said, you lived this type of life, but then you killed another man, and blah blah blah. And they're like going over his entire life.
Oh my god.
And he was like, and then he got damned to hell. So he started this like trap door opens below him, and he's like falling down. He said it felt like he was falling for 15 minutes, and like it was the worst fall of his entire life. He couldn't grab anything, even though the walls were just surrounding him, and he was getting further and further from this light that he had entered when floating up from his body.
Yeah.
And then he lands on this sharp but mushy surface, and it's a pile of bodies, and they're all alive, screaming, and his legs are shattered, and he's climbing over and over and over, and they're biting his fingertips off, and he's like bleeding all over, and he gets off the pile, which was like the pile to hell, basically, and he meets these other people down there, and they're like explaining about their experience in hell, and it's just like bloody, screaming bodies. Like, this shit makes me, like, freak out, okay?
Yeah.
And he gets down there, and they're like, no, it's not your time yet, but you needed to know that you were going to hell because of how awful you were being in your life. And he got sent back. And he was like, I literally was so pissed because he's like, I was just trying to get people to wear fucking masks. And then he was like, I met this other woman down there, and she was like, I was trying to save babies. I was a Christian lady, like blah blah blah. And she talked about how she got sentenced to hell because she wasn't giving other people the ability to choose their own sin, basically.
Yeah.
And like it was such a cool Reddit thread. And anyways, he was talking about like before he got put back, he got shown like his life in a whole perspective, basically. Mm-hmm. And he was like, he's like, I don't know if I was astral projecting or if I actually like died and then came back to life, because next he knew, he woke up in a hospital post-surgery and was saved.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
I was gonna do a thing on near-death experience.
I think we might have been on the same thread.
Yeah, I found this story about this guy, and when he was 6 years old, he had appendicitis, and he his appendix burst, and they called an ambulance. And when he was in the ambulance, he said, from the ambulance to the hospital bed, and I was in the hospital for quite some time when I was in surgery. He said, all I saw was this man standing at the edge. No one else could see him because I would ask my parents about it. And this man was wearing this like black leather jacket. He had a black Henley on, and he had these like just regular like jeans on, and he had black Converse on.
Is it Nicolas Cage in City of Angels?
And he had a beard, and it was like his grays were coming out. And he said, no one ever saw it, and I ended up surviving. Like, I thought for sure, like, everyone was like, he's gonna die.
Right.
And I ended up surviving, and he said, and I became absolutely infatuated with this style that this guy was wearing. I'm thinking that he was my angel, he saved my life. So he started watching one of the movies that he kept calling him like a greaser. I don't know.
Was that literally City of Angels? I'm literally wondering. Because that sounds like...
Is that the movie?
That's literally what the angels wore.
But, okay, wait. No, this is what... Okay, he did mention a movie in the thread, and he said... And someone commented and said that, and he was like, if you read my thread, in my home videos and stuff, like, this was before the movie came out. So he became a fan, and then he said that in that movie, he started dressing like someone from the movie. Yes, okay. So he said for Halloween, he asked his girlfriend, who's not his wife, who was his girlfriend then, to if they could dress up like that. And he said that he walked to a mirror. He had his outfit on. He walked to his mirror, and he was looking at himself. He had a drink in his hand, and he saw himself in the mirror, and he dropped his glass because what he was looking at in the mirror was the guy standing from him.
It was John Travolta. I can never say his name.
John Travolta.
It was from Greece. He was a greaser.
And
she was a pink lady.
He said the only thing that was missing was my beard. And he said, so over the next couple of years, I never told my wife, and I started freaking out that I started to get grays in my beard, because then I would really look like that guy. He said, I dropped the act completely. I stopped wearing my Converse. I stopped wearing my leather jacket. He said, I changed my whole entire style because I was scared that like that was like a hint to me that like you're gonna die again or something. And he said when he started getting his grays, he started plucking them. And his wife was like,
that just makes it worse.
His wife was like, that makes it worse. Everyone gets grays. You need to calm down.
Stop.
And he finally told her, and she was like, oh my God, like you saw yourself from the future. Like that's so crazy. Like, I thought it was a cool story.
He literally saw himself from the future. Yeah. Have you ever seen City of Angels?
No, but no, I haven't.
You have got to go watch it.
Let me see what movie.
You know the band Iris in this like.
I'm talking about City of Angels. He's talking about a movie called The Outsiders.
Oh, no. No, I didn't mean to say the music Iris. It's a song Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls. Like a days in this moment. You know that song?
No.
Yeah, you do. If you heard it, you know exactly. My singing's not going to give it to you. But they literally wrote that entire album for this movie. And this movie's got Nicolas Cage and that blonde girl that's in every freaking 90s, 2000s movie. I can't think of her name right now. And it's such good. You have to go watch it. You would love it.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I'll watch it.
All right, everybody go watch it. And it's been an hour and 30 minutes.
All right, we are wrapping up. We were like, oh, this is going to be a 45-minute episode.
Yeah, quick.
Like
Chop.
So, happy bonus episode, you guys.
I hope you enjoyed it, because I really did.
Yeah,
it was good to like cut loose and like be able to talk about things we're super interested in.
Yeah.
Well, not that we aren't interested in the cases that we do, but like more on the like freelance side of it. Yeah.
Right.
All right. Thanks for listening. Welcome to season 2. Who the F knows what's going to happen from here on out.
And if you're new here, you can follow us on YouTube now. So.
Yes. So follow us on Instagram at Creeps and Crimes Podcast, on TikTok at Creeps_Crimes. Like us on Facebook at Creeps and Crimes Podcast. Follow us on YouTube at Creeps and Crimes Podcast. And TikTok,
or not,
Creeps and Crimes. So we will see you guys in just a few days. We hope you enjoyed the finale of season 1. And if you know about our part 2s of Morgan's story. And there'll be more about that out on our Instagram. So make sure you follow us on there.
Okay, guys.
Bye.